Hello, 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 and welcome. I'm so excited to have you all join me today. And I hope that you all are having a blessed day so far. It has definitely been an interesting day for me, but you know what? Here we are, and I'm so glad we are here. So, if you do not know who I am, my name is Lamika McGee, and I am the founder, creator, and host of the Confessions of a Christian Single Woman podcast, where you will be empowered to propel in all aspects of your purpose, and no sister is left behind. And so I'm excited because on Monday, this past Monday, I released the first episode of season 4. So we are officially back. Yes, season 3 ended during the holidays last year, and so now I've been in the lab cooking things up, in the kitchen cooking things up, as they like to say. And I'm just glad that, the Lord gave a amazing topic for us to talk about this particular season. And so normally what I would do is, for previous seasons, I would do a different topic per week. But for this season, it needs to be more concentrated. And the Lord was like, I want you to only talk about one topic for the entire season. So it's going to be a challenge for me because it's something that I haven't done before, but it's also going to be good because as I'm studying and researching and just kind of learning as well, like the Lord is teaching me and growing me in this area as well. So I'm just thankful for it. So without further ado, because I do not want this to be long, this season's topic is overcoming loneliness. I'm alone, but not lonely. I'm alone, but not lonely. And so for the first episode, we talked about understanding loneliness. And this is going to be part 1, understanding loneliness, part 1. When it comes to loneliness, a lot of times we just think about it as it's the absence of, having somebody with us, and it creates that longing on the inside of us, right? And so, according to Webster's dictionary, the word lonely means being without company, cut off from others, and producing a feeling of bleakness or isolation. And you may be unhappy because you are not with other people, right? So that's what loneliness actually means by definition: is you're unhappy because you're not with other people. It can cause this deep sense of wanting to be around people, wanting to know what's going on, wanting to have that companionship and things of that nature. When it comes to that, one of the things that we know in the church world is, and we say all the time, is that the Lord is with us. Even though we physically do not have a significant other yet, for those of us that are, asking and believing God for one, the Lord is still always with us. So let's see where we can find that at. So in Psalms 27, verse 10, it says, "For my father and mother have forsaken me, but the Lord will take me in." John 14, 18, "I will not leave you as orphans, I will come to you." Isaiah 41:10, "Fear not, for I am with you. Be not dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Amen. That leads us to believe and know and trust that God is always with us. Amen. God is always with us. And so, because we know that God is always with us, then we will be able to get through anything, including loneliness. All right. So, what I talked about, there are four, I started out with four different types of loneliness that there are. When I was doing, some research and some studying, I ran across these different types of loneliness. Okay. And so, number one is social. So, if you are experiencing not feeling like you belong or that you lack meaningful, social connections, you may be feeling this way socially. And this can happen if, even if you are in a friends group and there's a whole bunch of you and you're just not cool with all of them, then you could still feel this way. So let's talk about the biblical example of that. That comes from King David. In Psalms 142, verse 4, it says, "Look to the right and see, there is none who take notice of me, no refuge remains to me, and no one cares for my soul." So David really felt like, even though I'm around these people, I still don't feel like these folks care about me. I still don't feel like I can be safe with them and I can, have rest and be comfortable with them, right? So being socially, having loneliness in a social capacity is a real thing. And so I do talk about one way, and with all of these points, I give one way. Of course, there's more than one, but I give one way in which we can overcome that particular loneliness type, right? The social loneliness type. Okay. So then, number two, we talked about emotional loneliness. So emotional loneliness typically means that you don't have close bonds or intimate relationships, and you may feel disconnected from people. So now you have people that you can talk to, glean from, spend time with, but even in that, it's not an emotional connect. You don't have an emotional connection to them, to where if they do something, it doesn't affect you, versus having that type of relationship with someone where if they do something adverse to you, then you would feel it. So like, for instance, for me, I had a, best friend who I was friends with for almost 20 years, and we're no longer friends. As far as I know, I haven't heard from her. And there was no explanation on the reason why the friendship was ending. So I had an emotional connection to her. And as a result of that, I was very hurt. I cried. I talked to one of my other best friends about it, and, received encouragement. I talked to my parents about it. Like, I really struggled with that. And so, now I'm like, wow, in setting this out, I was emotionally tied to her. So I was emotionally lonely when she left, right? So we have to be mindful of that. A biblical example of this is Apostle Paul in 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 16a. It says, "At my first defense, no one came to my support, but everyone deserted me." And I felt bad for Paul here, because Paul is thrown in jail. Everybody that used to travel around with him have now left him. Nobody showed up at his trial. Nobody, took him food. Like, nobody went to comfort him, nothing. And so he's like, man, at the first sight of me going through some trouble, nobody came to defend me. Nobody is here to support me. Everyone leaves me. That's emotional loneliness, right? You get to the point where your emotions are involved in who you're with. And when they leave, now they leave with that piece of you with them. And now you have to sever that emotional tie, right? Okay. And then the third point that we talked about is existential loneliness. And so with existential loneliness, this leads you to ask the question, Why do I exist? What is it, that the Lord put me here on the earth for? What is my purpose? What is my destiny? Why is, why is my presence on earth supposed to be important? Right. And so, in order to find that out, we can see a biblical example here from Naomi. So in Ruth chapter 1, verse 13, B and C, it says, "Would you therefore refrain from marrying? No, my daughters, for it is harder for me than for you, for the hand of the Lord has gone forth against me." And so here, back in the Bible days, right, the women's like sole role was to take care of their family, okay, their husband, their children, the cattle, like whatever it is that they needed to take care of. It was their responsibility to do that as far as the household, while the husband went out and did, whatever he did back in them times, right? So when Naomi's husband and sons die, she now feels like she has no purpose on earth. And she even says, "The hand of the Lord has gone forth against me. The hand of the Lord has left me because he took my husband and my sons," right? And so now she feels like that there is no purpose for her life, and she's probably asking, "Why am I still here?" Okay. And so we can, there is a way to overcome this. And so if you haven't had a chance to listen to the episode yet, check that out for the way to overcome this type of loneliness. Okay. And then number 4, and the last one for part 1, is circumstantial loneliness. And so this can stem from life circumstances and situations. So if you do something like pick up and move, from one state to the next without knowing anybody, or you get a new job, or you are trying to meet new people and network, but it's not really working, like things like that. Anything that has a specific circumstance attached to it can cause you to feel lonely. And so we can see this as a biblical example in Joseph, which comes from Genesis chapters 37 to 50. Okay, just read all the chapters on Joseph, because Joseph went through it based on his circumstances. All he did was just want to share what the Lord showed him in a dream. Based on that circumstance, he was beaten. He was just about left for dead. He was sold off. He was put in jail. He had advances made towards him by a married woman. He interprets dreams in jail, and then and then they forget about him when they get out of jail. Like, Joseph went through it, okay? He went through it. But even so, his circumstances caused him to be lonely. I'm pretty sure he was lonely in jail. I'm pretty sure when his brothers beat him and threw him, into a cave, I think it was, until the people came by to buy him, that he felt lonely in those moments. I'm sure he even felt lonely when he had the past being made at him, because he's just minding his own business, trying to do what is right. And then next thing you know, this happens to him. And so now all of these circumstances contributed to him being lonely. And so the same thing can happen to us. And when we recognize what those circumstances are, then we will know how to address them and then overcome them. All right. So that is what I talked about in episode 31, which is the first episode of season 4. In order to find out how to overcome, you have to go listen to the episode. So this is just a brief little recap, but in order to overcome any of these types of loneliness, go listen to the episode today. All right. So to close out, new episodes for this season will come out every Monday at 8 a.m., okay, on your favorite streaming platforms. So make sure you check that out. And then also follow me on IG at Confessions of a CSW, and on Facebook at the Confessions of a Christian Single Woman public page, and the private community that I also have with ladies all around the world. All right. And then join me back here next Wednesday at noon for our next recap. I hope you all will continue to have a blessed and wonderful day, and I will see you soon.